Welcome to today's Explainer. We are going to take the incredibly dense 13th century scholastic philosophy of St. Thomas Aquinas and translate it into a clear, bottom-up visual journey. We're diving deep into his monumental work, the Summa Theologica, specifically his absolute masterclass on the nature of law. And look, this isn't just some dry history lesson. This is quite literally the bedrock of Western legal thought. Grasping this framework completely transforms how you'll view the rules that govern our world today. Let's get into it. So, to kick things off, we have to tackle a pretty massive question. What actually makes a law a law? Is it just some arbitrary rule forced on us by whoever happens to have the biggest stick? Or does it require something much, much deeper? Think about it. If a ruler just declares something out of thin air, does it automatically carry the moral weight of a law? What is the actual recipe that separates a genuine binding law from sheer tyranny? For Aquinas, mere force is never, ever enough. Instead, Aquinas hits us with this absolutely brilliant four-part definition. He shows us that true law is essentially a rational architectural blueprint designed strictly for the benefit of everyone. It's not about a leader flexing their power or pushing personal preferences. It is an ordinance of reason. So let's break down exactly what that looks like in the real world. To make sure we don't get lost in the philosophical weeds here, here's our roadmap. 1. The essence of law. 2. The limits of human law. 3. The universal natural law. 4. Eternal and divine law. And 5. Does law actually make us good? Section 1. The essence of law. According to Aquinas, if a rule fails even one of these 4 criteria, it literally loses its binding power and drifts right into lawlessness. First up, it must be rational. That means it logically directs our actions toward a sensible goal. Second, it has to serve the common good, not just line the pockets of a few powerful people. Third, it has to be made by someone or a body of people who actually have the rightful authority to govern. And finally, it must be promulgated, meaning it has to be made public, because you obviously can't expect people to follow a secret rule. Moving right along to Section 2, the limits of human law. Aquinas actually pulls a total mic drop moment here from St. Augustine to argue that earthly human rules are strictly limited by a higher natural justice. The sheer force of a human law depends entirely on how just it is. If a law strays from right reason, if it's fundamentally unfair or hurts the community, Aquinas says it is literally not a law anymore. It's a perversion of law. It's an act of violence masquerading as justice. So the big takeaway here is that valid human laws have to derive from natural law in one of 2 ways, either as a logical conclusion or as a practical determination. Think of a conclusion kind of like a math proof. Natural law says do no harm, so human reason logically concludes, okay, do not kill. Determination, on the other hand, is a bit more like architecture. Natural law dictates a building needs to provide shelter, but the architect determines the specifics, like are we using a metal roof or shingles. In the same way, natural law says a wrongdoer must be punished, but human law has to determine if that means a fine, community service, or prison time. Both are totally valid, but they function in very different ways. Which brings us perfectly to Section 3, the universal natural law. This simple maxim right here is Aquinas' golden rule. It anchors every single moral inclination we have as humans. Just like the principle of non-contradiction is the basis for all logic, you can't say a wall is completely white and completely black at the exact same time. This idea that good is to be pursued and evil avoided is the absolute foundation of all practical reasoning. Every other moral rule we naturally follow builds straight up from this one undeniable starting point. He traces this natural law through 3 ascending tiers of human inclination, and it's fascinating. He proves that our drive to seek truth and build communities is literally hardwired into our nature. At the very bottom, just like every substance in the universe, even a houseplant, we have a fundamental urge for self-preservation. Moving up a level, like all animals, we're naturally inclined to reproduce and care for our young. But at the absolute peak, which is completely unique to us as rational creatures, we have this burning inclination to know the truth, especially about God, and to live harmoniously in a society together. Now we're pulling back the curtain even further for Section 4, eternal and divine law. Okay, so this hierarchy is the complete mental map. Human laws sit at the base, building on natural law. But natural law is really just our rational human participation in the absolute highest level, eternal law. These pillars interlock perfectly. Basically, Aquinas is saying you can't fully understand why you have to stop at a red light without eventually tracing that logic all the way up to the fundamental laws governing the universe itself. So what exactly is eternal law? Think of it like a master architect who has a perfect, unchanging blueprint in their mind before they even start building the universe. Because God's reason exists outside of time, this overarching plan that governs the entire cosmos is eternal. It's the majestic, flawless logic that sets the stars in motion and dictates the nature of every living thing. But here's the catch. Human laws are fundamentally flawed. We desperately need a supplementary divine law. Why? Well, human courts can only judge what they can physically see, and let's be honest, we get it wrong a lot. A human judge can't convict you for just thinking a malicious thought. Plus, if human law tried to punish every single bad thing people did, we'd end up destroying a lot of good in the process. So divine law steps in to cover those massive blind spots. It judges the heart, it makes literally zero mistakes, and it ensures absolute perfect justice. Finally, let's bring it all back down to earth with Section 5, Does Law Make Us Good? Aquinas firmly believed that the true intention of a lawgiver is never just about maintaining basic order. The real goal is to actively cultivate goodness and virtue in people. Law isn't just a bunch of traffic lights keeping us from crashing. It's an ongoing training regimen. It is explicitly designed to make us better humans from the inside out. And the psychology behind this is super interesting. He observes that even if someone only obeys a law at first because they are terrified of going to jail, the simple repetition of doing the right thing eventually trains their character. The physical habit literally takes hold in your psyche. Over time, you stop doing it out of fear, and you start doing good willingly, even finding delight in it. The law effectively bypasses your fear and shapes your inherent virtue. So, looking back at this entire 13th century framework, we're left with a truly profound question that challenges the whole point of our modern legal systems. In Aquinas' towering structure of eternal, divine, natural, and human law, the end goal was always ultimate human flourishing. Do our laws today still aim to cultivate virtue, or are they just tools to manage obedience? It's definitely something to chew on the next time you drive past a speed limit sign. Thanks for joining me on this explainer.